Okay, so here's some stocks that I would want to watch for the week of Monday, December 4th. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and start with the S&P 500 SPY. As you can see here, we are pushing back up toward prior highs that were made back here in July. So what I would do is I would watch for us to hold this level and then for a break up next to the last prior pivot point, which was 162.07. And then from beyond that, will we clear 472.88 and then back up to the prior high at 479.98. Now, the good news is November and December are technically very strong months. The hardest part is volume is usually on the downside. So that's where you have to be careful. If you look at what's been happening with SPY down here on the volume chart over the past several days, the good news is volume is increasing. Okay, so we'll want to watch for an increased continuation of volume. Looks like we're holding at the prior highs before we broke down, back down to 410, which this is about a 10% drop. So we've recovered all of this, and these are some of the pivots that I would watch for us to continue to go higher. Now, let's look at the triple Qs. Another one where we have good news past the prior high. So you can see that we were at a high here of about 388.11. We're at 389.94. So let's look at where some of the prior pivot points were. Well, you can see that we had one up here at 390.20. We are sitting just below that. So you'll want to watch and see how price reacts in this area. Now, this, I would presume, is going to be bullish consolidation. Volume down here has been increasing, although on Friday of last week dropped down a little bit. And if we push above this 390 level, then we're going to go back up here and we're going to test this range close to probably 400. So I would definitely keep an eye on that for a move higher. Now, what is going to be dependent upon SPY and the Qs moving up? Well, let's take a look at Apple. So Apple has been also on a nice uptrend. As you can see, we have filled the gap. So there was an open gap here on Apple, which was filled, and now we are consolidating within this range. As long as we could hold this 190, 191 level, I presume that we will push back up here and we will try to start to then test the prior highs, 196 going into 198 and then ultimately 200. Very strong chart. We still have good, strong momentum, so we'll want to watch for this to push higher into year end. Couple other ones that I've been watching that I think have a lot of promise. We're going to go ahead and take a look at ENPH, ENPH, one of the energy stocks. As you can see, looking back over time, I mean, this thing was as high as $340 a share, dramatic sell-off, but now we're starting to find some consolidation and a base move upward. So let's always look left. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to where do we find consistent support and resistance? Well, we had prior support right around this 109.39, moved up, came down, touched it, we moved up, we started to approach it, moved up, we came down, touched it, and then ultimately broke below it. But what I think we have here for an opportunity is a gap fill. So right now we're trading at about 106.52. Volume, again, is starting to pick up. You can see the sell volume was very heavy back here, and then it started to moderate down. So if we can get and hold this 107, 108, I would watch for a push of 109.39, and then ultimately going for the gap fill right here to the top side, right around, looks like 115, 116. So that could be a good move. We're trading right now at 106. So that's about a 5% move. Watch for momentum and volume to pick up and then go long for end phase. And then I would target the 115 calls. One of the other ones that you want to keep an eye on are the banks. So the XLF has been up significantly but the KBW is still somewhat down, which are more of the regional banks. So one that I've been watching is SOFI. I think I did a post on it that I wouldn't go long yet on SOFI until we see what happens. So what I want to do here is I want to just draw a couple trend lines real quick, see where we're at. We're going to want to make sure also on our trend lines that they are parallel in nature to one another. And we'll line those up. And you can see it's been trading within this channel. It would get up here to about 866, sell off all the way down to 687, come back up, $8, back down here into the sixes. Tremendous range. I mean, this thing is moving 20, 30, 40% some days, okay? So the good news is look at the volume on this past Friday. Huge bullish engulfing candle. We are now back to the top of the range. So what would I watch for? I would watch for a hold of this $7.80 going into $8. And then if we could break above the channel, where do I think we're going to? I think we're going back up to the prior resistance, which will be up here at just under 850. And then we'll move to 873 and then back up into the $9 range. Now, the good news is, let's draw a fib from the pivot high to the low. There is a lot of room for this to run back up to $9. So definitely keep an eye on this as a huge breakout, as the financials have been showing tremendous strength over the last several days. Okay. One more that I've been watching that I want to keep my eye on is PLTR. I highlighted this a couple weeks ago. Showed dramatic strength to move higher. The good news is, let's look at where we broke down in the past. It is now become resistance. So it broke above, failed, came back down, retested, broke lower. We are now retesting again. I think if we could hold this $20 range, 2027, and show some volume increase, that we should probably have no problem in going back up and trying to touch 20 and into $21, $22, the prior highs. So huge opportunity here as well on Palantir. This is another one where you can see that it's just been decimated over time, but yet making a nice recovery. So one other thing I want to do real quick is let's go ahead and just throw a fib level on this, and I'm going to look at a higher time frame if we could. We're going to do a weekly. I'm going to go from the high down to the low to show that there is still significant room to just get that 50% retracement back into 25.55. Is that going to happen overnight? Probably not, but I would definitely watch for the continued consolidation, and then I would play it off of a 4-hour chart and watch for momentum to come in. We've been seeing a nice gradual increase and then consolidation. So it's not breaking down to the lower range, which would be, back here into, looks like where we had support right around the $18, and then significantly lower would be 14. I think this one definitely is on an uptrend moving higher. So that's Palantir. And then the last one that I would watch is CRM. CRM had tremendous strength off of earnings. The volume, I'm going to go back here to a 1-day time frame, and you'll see how this thing just gapped all the way up on tremendous volume compared to all the prior days. I mean, it hasn't had this kind of volume since back here in March, where again, it gapped up off of earnings. So another strong contender. We'll do a Fibonacci from a pivot high to a pivot low. You'll see that we have exceeded the 618, which is definitely bullish. You can see here that we kind of came up to the 618, rejected it, but earnings blew us higher. Watch for continued momentum, maybe a slight pullback. I would say halfway down this candle, back to 255, 256, and then going back toward that 786 retracement level of 272. So that's kind of what I've been watching for the upcoming week. Again, going into the final calendar month of the year, we've been showing great momentum. A lot of it is still driven by technology. So just watch for some of the other sector rotationals to come in. Watch what's going on in energy. Watch what's going on in the banks. Consumer cyclicals have been fairly strong. Retail results have been really good for some of the retailers that have been posting. So we should have a good finish to the year. With that, hope you found this useful. If you did, hit that like button and keep following along. And I will talk to you guys soon. Take care. Have a great week.